You know, I thought that I had aged out of hating movies. When I was a teenager and I first started really getting into film in a big way, I would hate movies. Like movies like Batman and Robin, or Spawn, or Episode 2 of the Star Wars prequels. I would hate those movies, like literally hate them. And the last few years, I don't know, it's just, I guess, a product of getting older and seeing more film and being more involved in actually being able to make films and write films and appear in them with the Neon Reel Entertainment, the production company that I'm involved with. That attitude changed, and I started to think, it just doesn't make sense to hate movies. Hating movies is just silly. It's just a waste of time and energy, and even bad films you can learn things from, and even bad films can be enjoyed if you watch them in the right context, if you watch them with other people, if you make fun of them, if you have a good sense of humor about it. So I thought I was over hating movies, but I'm not. I just saw the Christian film Courageous, and it's produced by the production company that works out of Sherwood Church in Georgia. And it's the same outfit that made that movie Fireproof with Kirk Cameron as the firefighter with a troubled marriage. I watched this movie the day after I got back from the Reason Rally, and I think it gave me whiplash to go from the Reason Rally on Saturday to watching Courageous on Sunday. Basically, what happens in the movie is this. These police officers are also having to deal with the issues surrounding fatherhood. The Christian ideal of fatherhood is the central theme of Courageous. And Adam is a father, and he has a teenage son who he's sort of distanced from, and then he has this little, like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 year old daughter who is like the apple of his eye. And spoiler alert, stop watching if you don't want to find out what happens in Courageous. The little girl gets killed in a car accident. And just, throws their whole world into upheaval. And there's like this solid 10 minutes in the middle of the movie after the girl is killed off, where it's basically just close-ups of Alex Kendrick and his soft, expressionless face, and everybody just kind of moping about the dead child. After the child dies, Adam gets it into his head that he wants to be a better father. He wants to be a better Christian father. So he dedicates himself to living up to this Christian ideal of fatherhood, of the man being the spiritual leader of the home and setting the example for the children. And he writes this bullshit little resolution, this pledge that he will sign, and it's a pledge to God that he will be a better father. And basically, being a good father within the universe of this movie means proselytizing your children and doing everything possible to make sure that they grow up to be Christians like you. That's really the measure of the success of fatherhood, if your kids grow up to be Christians like you. So Adam signs this pledge, and he gets his 3 other cop friends, to sign the pledge as well. And they all, they have these issues. Like, one of them is divorced and doesn't really see his kids. One of them has a daughter who wants to go out with this boy, but he says you can't go out with boys until you're 17, and even then I have to approve the boy, and she's only 15 at the time, and no going out with boys. And then the other one has a child he has a child with a girl that he hooked up with in college, and he hasn't seen the child for years, and he struggles with whether or not to contact the mother and get back into her life. And I mean, just all these little, basically soap opera plots going on with these cops. And plus, they're also doing cop stuff, busting drug gangs in this little Georgia town, and all the criminals, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 very brief, not even cameo appearances, basically background appearances of white people. All of the criminals are classic, like, thug black guys with do-rags and tank tops and, like 50 Cent clones. This is this film's conception of what a criminal is and what a drug dealer is an intimidating black person, an intimidating black man. But of course, one of the 4 cops is also a black man, and a black man with a black family. And so I guess they try to avoid the charges of racism there. But I couldn't help, and there's also a Hispanic character who seems to be present in the film for the same thing, to just sort of provide a bulwark against charges of racism. Both Nathan, the black cop, and Javier, the Hispanic character, they're both just these incredibly pious, good family men who love their wives, and their wives just adore them. And that's really the only purpose women have in this movie, is to adore the men. And there are some really, really creepy scenes, like especially between Nathan and his daughter. There's a scene where he takes his daughter out to dinner, and he's dressed in like a suit and tie, and the 15-year-old daughter, is wearing this really nice dress, and they're in this fancy restaurant, and he explains to her, this is after he signed the resolution, he explains to her that he wants to be a good father, he wants only the best for his daughter, and that's why he is going to assume veto power over her life until she gets married. And he gives her a ring, like a promise ring, but for your dad. I can't be the only one who finds this incredibly creepy. It's like a little ring with a diamond heart on it, and he puts the ring on the finger of her left hand, her ring finger, and he says, "This ring is to be worn until it's replaced by your wedding ring." Now, keep in mind, there are no age restrictions placed on this. He's basically telling his child, his daughter, I'm going to control you until I give you to another man for him to control. It's really, really, really creepy and really offensive, this notion that I realize is a notion, is a real thing. There are Christian families. In fact, there's a Christian family that is known to me, that is very good friends with my wife's family, who practice this form of Christianity, that the daughters are basically under the authority of their fathers in perpetuity. It doesn't matter how old they are, until they get married, and then they're under the authority of their husband. And this is to be celebrated. The movie presents this in just this beautiful setting, and it's staged and presented like it's just, oh, if only every father would care about his daughter so much. If only every father loved his little girl as much as Nathan does, to take over every decision about who she loves and who she sees until she meets a man that he approves, and then the man can take over from there. It's hideous, it's awful, it's repugnant, it's offensive. And it's at the core of the message of this movie, that this sort of thing is a good thing. And you see the same thing with Adam's relationship with his son. They're going for a run. It's one of the really obviously telegraphed parts of their character arc, that at the beginning of the movie, Adam's teenage son loves to run, and Adam's like, I'm not going to run. Running is stupid, you know? And then there's even like a little action scene where he's chasing after a drug dealer and he can't catch him. You know, he gets winded, and then after the daughter dies and he decides to come closer to his son, he takes up running, and he and his son are running, because of course they are, and he stops his son in the middle of the run. They're taking a rest, and he gives him this little talk about how he hopes that he'll grow up to be a good man of the church, and he'll be a Christian, and he'll follow the Lord. The movie takes place in this Christian fantasy bubble, where good means Christian and bad means anything other than Christian. There's even a moment at the very end of the movie where when Adam is addressing the church, and the guys who have signed the resolution are standing up on the stage of the church, and Adam, as the guy who invented the resolution, is giving a speech, giving a sermon to the church, and he mentions that he wants to seek God and have God present in his home, like all good men. Those are the words he uses. So I guess as an atheist, I can't be a good man, according to the theology, according to the morality of this movie. To be a good man means, literally, by definition, to be a good Christian. And they're inseparable. It's so perverse and so twisted that there's even a moment where one of the cops sort of falls short. One of the cops that signs the resolution is found to have been stealing drugs from the weapon, or from the evidence locker at the police station, and implicitly selling them for extra cash, although it's not, that's never outright explained, but that's the implication, that he's selling the drugs. And when he's confronted about this by his friends, they make the biggest deal out of the fact that he broke his pledge. He broke his resolution. It's not that he broke the law. It's not that he committed a horrendous violation of professional ethics. It's that he broke the promise he made to their imaginary friend. I hate this movie. I hate this movie. I hate it. It's one of the worst, most awful movies I've ever seen. And I can't even recommend it just on cheese value. Unless you are an absolute glutton for punishment, and you can get it for free, as I did through the library, there's no reason for you to ever watch this movie. It's a really, really bad movie. It's a complete piece of shit. Save yourself the trouble. You've just watched this. You've just wasted 10 minutes or so of your life watching me bitch about this movie. Please do not compound this error by watching the movie itself. It's over 2 hours long. It's a complete waste of time. It's total trash. Don't watch Courageous.